Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. We'll probably get the meeting started in the next 5 or so minutes. Please, in the meantime, if you can please confirm that you can hear me, number one. And number two, if you can see the presentation on screen.
Sean, it's doing it again.
Okay, there's a couple of people moving around here. Messiah, Sean, can you hear me clearly?
Nope,
No, sir. It's
bad.
there's a lot to read on that mic, I think.
Is it the mic?
I think it could be. I think the further away from it you are, the worse it gets. The closer you are, the better it is actually.
Guys, please bear with me while I grab another microphone.
Wat op je computer, laat ons hoor.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Okay, is that better, guys?
Sounds better.
Okay, then I'm happy about that.
Yeah, it does.
Let's just stop things here a little bit.
Sean, check your message there, Sean.
Hi, welcome everybody. I hope everybody can hear me better now. Kevin, is the sound correct? Is it better audible?
Yeah, it's much better now.
I'm very glad to hear that. Can we just ask that if everybody in the chat just confirm that you are able to see the screen and you are able to see the presentation that's being displayed at the moment? I'm seeing a couple of thumbs up. Great stuff. Welcome, everybody. I suppose we can get started. First of all, I want to thank the RMI Training Department and Mr. Frick Botha for, in very short notice, helping us in setting this meeting up today. I'm going to hand over to Louis van Huisteen, our RMI Training Director, to lead off the conversation before Frick Botha does the actual presentation. I hope you find today informative.
Good afternoon, colleagues. As John mentioned, the webinar this afternoon, Dr. Frick is going to focus on the transition from the legacy qualifications to the new occupational qualifications, specifically certificates, occupational certificates. And I just want to welcome Dr. Frick and say thank you very much for the opportunity. He's going to share with us an innovative way in terms of dealing with the current situation, where employers would have received an award from the MASITA looking for a training provider, and then in all probability is getting a bit stuck in terms of a provider not available in their close proximity. So without letting too much of a cat out of a bag, I'm going to hand over without any further ado to Dr. Frick, We will, towards the end, also share with you an opportunity that the RMI has recently introduced to members and still busy introducing. We have got 4 online chapters in a online STF handbook that we developed that will deal with STF registration, workplace approval, drawing down Masita grants, and 1 or 2 other things. But we will talk about that towards the end of a session. Over to you, Dr. Frick. Thank you.
Hi, Louis. I'm sorry, Louis. Some of the members say they can't see the presentation.
Thank you, Gisela. I've changed the format of the presentation. They should be able to see it now. If we can just please confirm that for me, that they're able to see.
Okay.
Sort of thumbs up once it was changed. Okay, great stuff. Everybody can see.
Okay, so dan kan ons begin, and for the convenience of the English-speaking attendees, I'm now going to switch over to Afrikaans. Want Afrikaans is maar tog, omdat hy nou die dag 100 jaar geword het, is ons baie trots op Afrikaans. So, ladies and gentlemen, I first want to thank Louis and Jean for the opportunity to share with you, and it is a matter of just sharing with you 27 years of experience, which I had the opportunity in the body shops, working with panel beaters and spray painters within the CBMT, the competency-based modular training system. And let me say it from the beginning, I am a converted occupational qualification disciple. I believe that the occupational qualifications we needed in South Africa, and I want to congratulate the QCTO and Masita and everybody that has had a contribution in finishing up the curricula and the documentation needed for this wonderful opportunity to present occupational qualifications in our industry. Starting immediately, the competency, the first slide will show you the competency-based modular training system, the old legacy qualifications. And as you would all know, that at the end of June 2024, these qualifications ended. You cannot, on the 1st of July, you could not register an apprentice on the CBMT system any longer. So panel beaters and spray painters, but I think we have to know what happens in the past to look at what is being presented now for us, the occupational way, because I think the QCTO puts it very, very straight when it says structured CBMT is their outgoing of the qualifications. And I think there is definitely a link which we can add to the CBMT system and the new occupational system. But as I told Louis the other day, I said, it's the same pudding, just another sauce. The sauce makes the difference. And that is what we want to present to you today. Looking at the slide, on the slide, there you see it starts with home. There you can see a home, and it is, what is important is, as you would all know, that the learner got some books from the supplier. You issued the books, and within the books there were those plastic sakkies with all the assessment documentation in that book. So you've put all those plastic bags in a file, and then you call that file the POE. Meanwhile, the learner took the books home, and in the books, he had to study the knowledge. Now, here we can say the knowledge with regards to the occupational qualifications. I can say they like to refer to it as the theory. Okay, so then the learner studied the knowledge at home, and within the book, there is a knowledge self-check and a performance self-check. And according to the mentor in the workplace, this learner had to complete that knowledge self-check. And after he has completed this knowledge self-check, in the little bookie, there are the answers to all the questions that was asked with regards to the theory. Then there was the performance self-check. Performance self-check, for example, if it was with regards to mixing primer or grinding, he also goes now into the workplace and he starts practicing grinding on his own. This is where the workplace comes in. Now, when we move from the left to the workplace, to the right, what is important here, can you see there we have self-assessment at home, and now we get to formative assessment. These are words that we have to acquire when we move on to occupational qualifications. Now, the formative assessments that take place in the workplace in the old legacy qualification was, now remember, the workplace was approved, there was a mentor involved, and the learner, after he has completed the module, he gets to the auntie or to the certain person handling the portfolio of evidence, and he asks for a test. Then the auntie gives him the test, and he writes the knowledge test. What one has to know here very clearly is that the knowledge test refers back to the knowledge self-assessment that this learner has already been acquainted with at house. So it's not a different test, it's exactly the same test. This is just, I refer to it as a check, whether he has done his homework or not. The performance test document, yes, a test is completed, and the performance is being checked on a list by the mentor. So the mentor goes and he says, okay, but now take the grinder and grind for me. And then when he grinds, the mentor says, yes, I totally agree. You can grind. You will grind according to the background of what you've learned in the books, in the knowledge. You've done all the checks on the grinder. You've checked everything and so on. You've used the grinder. All the PPE that you were using is correct. And he signs off this performance test. And then in that way, the whole level is completed. So the learner completes the knowledge, he completes the performance, he is being assessed at the formative assessment is being done for him, and eventually he says, okay, now I have completed a full level, whether it's level 1, 2, 3, or 4 in the case of panel beater, or 1, 2, and 3 in the case of spray panel. After he has completed all the level tests and all the evidence is in the peer portfolio of evidence, then the workshop or the mentor or the little auntie that handles the apprentices, she completes an application. Via the MERSITA, the learner is informed that he has been chosen on this certain date. He has to present himself at a trade test center. Now, there I have written a new word there. You see that from the workplace, the arrow goes straight to the trade test center, and it says, there's a beautiful word, external summative assessment. Now, this is also a new word like self-assessment or formative assessment or summative assessment or external integrated summative assessment. But this external summative assessment is being done at a trade test center. The oak goes to the apprentice goes to for the level test, and he does a knowledge test. And again, that test is exactly the same as the one with which he started at home, in the workplace, and the trade test center. And he performs the grinding for the assessor. The whole level is assessed and a level test certificate is issued. And this is what we got used to as the legacy qualifications. So let's see, there is a flow chart, there is home, there's workplace, there's a trade test center, there are words that we have to know. And if we go then to the occupational, we go then to the occupational qualifications, exactly the same. But the source differs a bit here. There, you now have to have an accredited skills development provider. Normally, a person or an institute applies for accreditation. The QCTO comes out, they accredit this so that he can be a skills development provider for panel beater or spray painter. Okay? Then he presents theory or knowledge, practical or performance, and formative assessments. Similarly, of what we've had, only the learner is now being helped with the theory and with the practical and the performance. That is the role of the mentor. The mentor is a very important person in an occupational qualification situation. The mentor has to know exactly what is being expected from the learner with regards to the knowledge or the theory, and what does the learner or the apprentice has to reach at the end of this training period. Again, the workplace has to be approved. The MASITA, as the QP or the quality partner comes out, he approves the workplace, and when you've got that approval, you can train. You have to have qualified mentors, and the mentor involvement, as I've already said, is now very, very important. And what is the task of this mentor is the knowledge that has been presented to the learner by way of presenting him with the knowledge or the theory, now has to be integrated. The theory and the practical has to be integrated. I'm going to give again the grinder example. The theory and the accredited SDP gives to the apprentice, gives him the opportunity and gives him more information about grinding, the health and safety components, as well as how to use the grinder, the safest way, etc., and the best way, and the discs, and how to maintain. Everything is in the theory. Then the learner has to do practical, and this is where the mentor comes, and he stands with the learner and he says to the learner, okay, now I want you to observe. I'm going to grind, and I want you to observe and look what I do. The learner, the apprentice observes the mentor, and he grinds. And not only then, but after a few period in time, the mentor will say to him, okay, now we are going to allow you to grind. So now the mentor has demonstrated grinding, and the learner starts participating, and eventually the learner grinds on his own. So that's a process. But you know, that's a natural way of learning or training. So the theory is then now integrated in the practical, but evidence has to be now collected by the mentor and the learner. And that evidence collection is normally based, you have to have a logbook, a full logbook, which explains to you everything that the learner has to present in his portfolio of evidence. So within the portfolio of evidence building, there is all the evidence and the theory and the practical evidence that it has been completed. It can be photographs, or it can be a report, or it can be a remark that has been written. You've done very well, I'm satisfied with, or it can be whatever. Then phased assessment happens in. Now, normally, after a learner or apprentice has completed a whole program of learning or a level of learning, and the QCTO refers to it as a training intervention. After they've completed a part of that training intervention, then phased assessment takes place. And this is where it differs now. The assessment is being done internally by the SDP. The SDP brings along an assessor, and perhaps he is himself an assessor. Then the learner is being assessed whether he has reached the goals that has been, or the criteria, he has complied with the criteria. And then, so if the period of training is 3 or 4 years, I'll present that later to you. I will show you how the process goes every time the learner, like in this competency-based model training, the learner, after he has completed a whole set of learning, he has to go to the assessment center. This is not the case anymore. The learner stays inside, and all the assessment is being done in-house. So the theory for the ASA is what he has learned, he is now being assessed on at the SDP, and the assessment center is only in his final year. After he has completed the whole program of learning for spray painting and panel beating, only in his final year, he goes to the practical, he goes for the practical assessment at an assessment center. So the theory is being completed in-house by the SDP, but the practical, he has to go to an accredited assessment center where the external, and that's what the ASA stands for, External Integrated Summative Assessment. And that's what ASA stands for. So it is very important, the difference to be seen. The learner stays in the shop and he works in the shop. He's being assessed in the shop the whole period during the program that he is being trained. It's only in his final year that he goes for the practical or for the work experience. He goes to an assessment center. So that is a difference, and there is a bit of difference with regard to the methodology. So that we will see when we go on to the next slide. The next slide He wants to get some water. Thank you. I appreciate it, John. Okay, the next slide is the competency-based and occupational qualifications now being compared. The CBMT, according to, this is what I'm quoting here, the QCTO, the Quality Council for Trades and Occupations. The CBMT, the competency-based modular training, which we know and which has ended at the end of June 2024, closely resembles the approach for occupational qualification, and that we have seen. I've presented the two previous slides. Occupational qualifications align with competency-based modular training. Exactly, that is the truth. Modular qualifications and there's just lines. Occupational qualification aligns with competency-based modular qualifications, but is called by them QCTO as structured CBMT. They like this word, structured CBMT. Now, no additional cost is being expected for employers using CBMT method, as they already meet most of the accreditation criteria for occupational qualifications and workplace improvement. So we do not see that if you are already accredited, as you can present, or you have presented, or are still being presenting CBMT qualifications, we don't see that there will be any costs involved. And then the apprentices who are in CBMT, or currently in the CBMT system, with training in the workplace for all components, followed by the trade test. I have already explained that. The CBMT goes to an accredited assessment center to complete their CBMT learning. But it's very important, though, that those words which we have highlighted, modular qualifications and CBMT, are structured, the competency, the occupational qualifications are structured CBMT way of training. The next slide, but there are challenges. There are challenges and considerations. The first one being the CBMT allowed any approved employer to offer training and only sent apprentices to the trade test center for level tests. I've already explained that. This is still possible in the phased level assessment. Can you remember I said the learner or the apprentice stays in the shop as long as he's being trained in panel beating and spray painting. He stays in the shop and he's being assessed and trained within the practical and the knowledge and the workplace experience. And he's also being assessed internally. This is what they call phased assessment. Small companies, this is a remark which the QCTO has written, small companies could participate without needing access to a skills development provider. So in other words, this is still possible, only accreditation required by a small company. If he wants to train, he gets accredited workplace, and he can still, without being an SDP, a skills development provider, he can still train. But what is important is an occupational qualification require an accredited skills development provider for theory and practice, potentially posing a challenge for a small, medium enterprises. We can couple workplace approval with SDP accreditation to make things earlier. This is a remark that the QCTO has made, which I couldn't yet understand very clearly. The last slide is a synopsis of now what we have seen. Can you see there is, and now I see that, let me just see whether this is not the slide. I want this. There you are. CBMT and occupational qualifications. It is no challenges, we've done that. And then the occupational qualifications are competency-based module training. Now, implemented on all occupational qualifications, it says 10 levels NQF. Okay, the entry requirements is determined by the industry per occupation. If the industry says they want apprentices, panel beaters, and spray painters to have grade 12, then that is the industry requirement. Currently, the requirement is grade 10. Okay. The relevant maths, engineering, science, drawing, trade theory included, that is for certain occupational qualifications, which I don't think you can become an engineer if you haven't got maths for grade 12. Here we've got the level reflectors on the left-hand side. Level 1, 2, 3, and 4. And now you can see, as I said, that is program. Level 1 or program 1 contains theory, practical work, and workplace integration. The duration now is 6 to 12 months. 6 months being the minimum and 12 months being the maximum for a program as prescribed in the relevant curriculum. And then the assessment criteria, and this is important that you should see this, dear ladies and gentlemen. Phased assessment that takes place, the SDP does that. The skills development provider that has presented himself to the company to take on the training of apprentice panel beaters and spray painters, he does the phased assessment internally. The learner, after he has completed a certain program, part of the program, which has been prescribed, he doesn't go to an assessment center. It is being done internally. And similarly, in his second level or the third level, but the only difference is in the final level, theory, practical, and workplace integration, at the fourth level. The ASA is done by the SDP. He does a knowledge test internally, and the ASA, the external, the practical exam, he has to go to an accredited assessment center. In other words, after a period of training, after he has completed his whole program, then he goes for the ASA, the practical assessment. He goes to a trade test center. That's the only way, that is the only time that a learner leaves, leaves the workplace to go to an accredited assessment center. So if we recap quickly from slide 1, let's go back quickly and recap. Can you see there's competency-based? The learner is at home. He does the workplace formative assessment. He completes the knowledge test and he completes the performance test. The workplace completes an application. He goes to a trade test center and he gets a level test. Level 1, 2, 3, 4. And when he reaches level 4, he is a qualified artisan and he gets his Red Seal qualification. Slide 2, this is the change. And now you have to have, if you want to train panel beaters and spray painters, you have to have an accredited skills development provider. And the skills development provider presents the theory, the practical, and the formative to the workplace. He assists the mentor, and he does the induction with the mentor and the learner or the apprentice. He introduces them to the learning material, to the theory, and he introduces the mentor to the logbook, which the mentor has to complete. And ladies and gentlemen, it's very important that the mentor, excuse me, is now a very important person because he drives this learner. When we get to assessment after a part of the training program has been completed, when we get to that part where the skills development provider and an external assessor comes in and the mentor, we give the learner now the opportunity to prime and prepare a door. It's done when the mentor signs off. The mentor signs off, the assessor signs off, perhaps the foreman signs off, and everybody sees that this he can do the work or he can't do the work. Very important. During that assessment, photographs are being taken, which is evidence of the assessment that had taken place. A report is completed saying the assessor and the moderator and everybody was happy, and the learner has reached his final program completed. He can now advance to the second period of training. What is important, one should understand here, when you entered in grade 8 in the high school, you entered, and every year, grade 8 to grade 9, grade 9 to grade 10, grade 10 to 11, 11 to grade 12, the teachers promoted you. They signed off that you are competent to move to the next grade. It's only in grade 12 that you do an external assessment, and Uma Lucy, an external quality assurer, declares you competent or not yet competent. That was the schooling system that we know well, but that is similarly to the new occupational qualifications. Internally, the learner or the apprentice is taken with the assistance of the accredited SDP, with the assistance of everybody in the workplace, with the assistance of the mentor, very, very important, takes the learner until he reaches grade 12, until he has completed mostly of the program, the training program. He has completed his training program. Then they apply for an ASA at an accredited assessment center, and the learner goes there only for the practical. When he passes there, the body shop or the workplace is informed, and then the learner gets his qualification as a qualified panel beater or spray painter. What is mostly important about occupational qualifications? The question is asked, can this oak do the work? So therefore, 20% of the emphasis in the training program of an apprentice, panel beater or spray painter, 20% is placed on knowledge. And 80% is placed on the practical and the work experience. Can this oak do the job? That is the question with regards to occupational qualifications. Okay, and the next slide. So CBMT definitely resembles the same as as the occupational qualifications. Only there is a few differences that we can identify. And the next slide, there are challenges and considerations. Occupational qualification, and that's why it's highlighted, require an accredited SDP, not a DSP, an SDP. SDP stands for Skills Development Provider for theory and practice, potentially posing a challenge for us. The idea, and I think Louis will take that on in a next webinar, is to expand the SDPs nationwide. All that we need now is for people to come on board and say, okay, this is a reality. And the assistance coming from Jean, from Louis, is there. One has just to take the bull here by the horns and start training. So, and here you can see this is the synopsis that I say is the rest. It says at the last there is the ASAN, it's the practical, and you know, all the assessment and the evaluation is being done by the people working with this apprentice. And very quickly, you can say this apprentice is going to make it, or no, he's going to break it. Involvement in the training of apprentices within occupational qualifications is very, very important.
Sorry, Fred. Sorry, Fred. There's been a number of questions in the chat. If you wouldn't mind helping me here quickly. Somebody asked not too long ago, how long or what period, how many levels or stages do we have or phases do we have in the panel beating trade, as well as the spray painting trade? And then what are the minimum entry requirements for panel beating and spray painting?
Okay, the minimum entry requirements as it stand now is grade 10. But as I've said in the previous slide, let me just go back. QCTO says the entry requirements is determined by industry. So, Jean, it's you and industry that have to determine if you want to put it up and say grade 12 instead of grade 10. So that's the first question. The other one is, how many levels? Let's go back to the second slide. Very important. Although we have on the left-hand side levels, 1, 2, 3, 4, can you see there the duration in months? It says it can either be 6 months or 12 months. So there you see what we had in the CBMT system, minimum and maximum time. If you look, it appears to what we have there on the slide that a learner can complete his panel beating and spray painting qualification within 2 years. If he goes minimum time, maximum time it takes 12 months. But don't forget what I said. The most important person here is the mentor. The mentor will also be informed about the requirements and the criteria of the curriculum. If the mentor doesn't know the curriculum, if he doesn't know what must the learner acquire at the end of a certain period, then we are wasting one another's time. He has to know that, for example, to remove or replace, as if that is that is definitely a component for the practical and work experience. And then, according to prescribed in the curriculum, 40 weeks. So now he has to plan. And this is where the training department of the RMI and Jean is going to play a big role in compiling and completing a logbook which makes sense to already it has been completed, a logbook that makes sense for the mentor so that he can see how many time he has to spend on practical and work experience. Now, let's just make a distinction between practical. Remember the little grinding example that I made? The learner studies everything about the grinder in the theory. Then he goes to the WIM and he observes the WIM and the mentor. He observes the WIM grinding and he assists the WIM. He replaces the disc and the WIM is supervising the whole time. He replaces the disc and gives it back to the WIM and he works with the WIM, observing and assisting within a certain period of time. And then the WIM completes the logbook and signs off that he has completed the practical. The WIM, as the assessor, is satisfied with what the learner has reached. Then he goes to the work experience. Now they go into the workplace. And now the WIM says to him, okay, clean that car. I want to repair that small dent on that car. Grind it. And then he starts working in the workplace. But you never let him loose in the workplace if he hasn't been properly trained during the practical phase. I hope I've answered that question.
I think you've answered it. There is a follow-up question to that, though. So the follow-up question to that states, what happens if the trainee is slow, fails his workplace test, and how long can it take to get to do the final ASA test?
Yeah, there are then a different way. This learner is under a contract. Okay? And a contract has a time to start and a time to end. And if it says 4 years, then the contract is going to end. Many of the CBMT candidates that didn't finish within the time that has been placed on them within the CBMT system, if they haven't completed in time, the body shop could have asked for extension of the contract. And that has happened. And the Masita gives the quality, Masita gives extension to such a situation. So if a learner is slow, then you must remember this is your responsibility to help this. And your service provider here plays a very important role. He doesn't get the title of being an SDP if he hasn't got in his policy documents how is he going to assist the slow learner. So it is then that the body shop would say to the service provider, listen, Mr. Service Provider or Skills Development Provider, you have to now assist this learner because he is slower than the other learners. And then you have to start, helping and assisting him. But, you can bring the horse to the water, but if he doesn't want to drink, then it doesn't drink.
Very fair. I think that answers that question. And the person who asked that, I think, was John Witter. If you just want to give us a thumbs up on screen there, if you feel that was answered. Yes. Thank you very much. And there's a couple more questions that come through. I'm going to take another 3, and then I think we should be just about at time. I want to be respectful of everybody's time. The next question that's came from Raymond. Is the ISA theory at the STP conducted by an external assessor?
The ISA theory works like this. Remember, the skills development provider supplies the apprentice with learning material. And remember, there are certain concepts which we have to now start put them into bed. First one is formative assessments. After the learner has completed a certain module, in the theory or in the knowledge part, then he has to complete, like in school, he has to complete a homework session. And that he completes, and the mentor signs off, the learner signs off, and the skills development provider signs also, gathers that evidence and puts it in a POE for the learner. Very, very important that one should know that before a learner is allowed to go to the ASA, the QCTO sends, they can come themselves, or they can send their quality partner, their QP, which might be Masita. They send the ETQA to come and see whether sufficient evidence is available in the POE for the learner to allow him to go on to the ASA. Very important. They check the logbook, whether all the components as prescribed in the curriculum has been acquired by the learner. The ASA is being compiled, as I told you, with all the formal assessments in the learner workbook, that theory book which you received from the training provider. The training provider then gathers a few of those formative assessments. He puts them in one exam, and he then hands it to the learner in his final year as the ASA for the theory. So it is a matter of they've got record of the work. Excuse me, but you know, when you say when they do bad, when they are not properly controlled, when they do not, when the learner or the apprentice on the theory side, if he doesn't place enough responsibility and if he doesn't place enough effort into that, then most probably when we get to the final exam, which comes out of that knowledge or theory handbook, is not going to make it.
Thank you. I think to summarize that and just add to answer a portion of that question, the ISA is, or the ASA, however a person's pronounced that, is conducted by an external body.
No. The internal, is being conducted by the skills development provider.
So as well.
The ASA, not on the theory work. The theory ASA. There's two ASAs, or rather, let me correct myself. An ASA consists normally, whether you're doing VDQ or whether you're doing whatever, consists of a knowledge and a practical exam. And we call an external integrated summative assessment, consists of knowledge and of practical. The knowledge one is being undertaken by the SDP. Okay. So the SDP compiles from the bookie, from the knowledge that he has learned, given to the learners, he compiles an exam paper and he gives it to them and they complete.
Thank you very much. That was me too. Okay, we've got another one here. Somebody who is responsible to train the mentor in the workplace on the new system?
The service provider. The service provider, and that's why it is very costly and time-wasting. It takes a lot of time to get the mentor. With the help of the RMI, Louis and Jean, we are currently running a pilot project in some companies, and hopefully the results will soon be available. But what is important is that the skills development provider, you can't just come to a shop and register their learners and present them with the knowledge and give them a logbook and then go home. Very important, and that's one of the criteria of the QCTO, that you are not going to get this skills development provider title, and you are not willing to walk the extra 300 miles. Very, very important that you should be able to walk the extra mile with a company. So yes, it's the skills development provider that has to introduce, and I like the word induction. Do the induction with the apprentice with regards to the knowledge and also with regards to the logbook. If they do not know how to interpret, how to plan, and what does it entail in any case, then it's the responsibility of the training provider or the SDP to help and induct the mentor. As I said, the most important person in this little apprentice's life is his mentor, because the mentor is going to stand at the end of the pearly gates when that oak does the ASA, the final ASA, and when the assessor at the trade assessment center or that assessment center says, "Congratulations, Boet, you've made it," then all the glory will fall onto the mentor as well, not only on the learner. Or it can also be the company. The company has to be involved. The owner, he has to know what is the progress of my apprentices. The SDP has to regularly present a progress report, excuse me, to the body shop. Or otherwise, he's paying for nothing. One has to. I had a friend of mine who says, vertroue is goed, maar controle is beter. It's better to control than to trust. And you do not trust nobody. Okay.
So thank you. I think that answers that quite clearly. Guys, I think we are running short on time, and I want to be respectful of all the members' times on this meeting and this webinar. Before we go, though, I've got Peter Rootman here from, do I say your acronym again? CSRS. CSRS. They're working very closely together with our training department and have put together a short course online that everybody can participate in. I'm going to throw the QR code onto the screen at the moment. You're more than welcome to scan that QR code to gain access to it. It's a basic registration form, and once filled in, one of the training advisors or Peter Rootman will reach out to you and share the credentials with you. I'm going to hand over to Peter Rootman. He can explain it a little bit better, and then we take it from there.
Thanks very much, John. Good afternoon, ladies and gents. Just quickly take up a little bit of your time. Thank you so much for the opportunity. The RMI, through Louis and Boyce, has put together 3 courses for us, RMI courses. And we call it a course, but it's really just an infomercial. If you've listened today and you're interested in it and you've heard some acronyms that you're not quite sure of, or you got a question on how does the Masita work, or how does the funding opportunities, the apprenticeships, the ARPLs work, how do you get funding, how do you take part in this, that is what you can find on the website. John has thrown up a QR code. If you just complete it, Boyce will put together the information. We'll create a little online profile for you, which will be emailed to you with a link, your username and your password, and you can log in onto the system where you will then have access to the RMI. Again, we're calling it courses because it's put together in a course format, meaning that you then have access to the confirm. So
Give me. Can everybody hear us now? If I can just get a thumbs up. Okay.
Sorry.
Guys, order returned. Wonderful. I'm not sure where you lost us.
So I'm going to, with the risk of not doubling up, I'm going to give you just in a nutshell. RMI's put together 3 courses, 3 handbooks. It's on our website. If you can scan the QR code and give your information through, between Boitumelo, myself, and Louis, and the training advisors, we will create an online program, send through your login.
Don't know if it's... Apologies all. Can everybody... This microphone... We seem to be having technical difficulties. Yeah, okay. Is it back again? I've muted, I've stopped. Okay, it seems like the sound's back. I assume. Okay, everybody, please feel free to scan the QR code on screen. I'm going to say thank you to everybody. You can gain access via that. I want to thank a warm welcome and thanks again to Frick Botha for the presentation today. I think it was very informative. If anybody would like to get hold of him or contact him, please feel free to reach out to one of the ARs or the training advisors. They're more than happy with the details. And this presentation and all the other information will be shared after the meeting. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a lovely afternoon. We appreciate it.
Bye.
Yes, bye.
Cheers, everybody.